Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
Absolute devastation to liberation. 20-year relationship destroyed by cheating wife. It's been around 2 years 40 male since my DD with my cheating ex, 39 female. At the conclusion of her senior year, we were high school sweethearts. I had just graduated and met her while working at a video shop in a small town. We were good friends for approximately 6 months before I had the bravery to plant a kiss, and the rest, as they say, is history. Unfortunately, since this story has made its way to the sub, we all know how it ended. I'd never had any friends who cheated, and I'd never heard anybody speak about it, so I had no clue how much trouble was in store for me. It was a coincidental event that I had discovered. My parents were visiting, and my ex left to attend a coworker's wedding in another state. She had informed me about the occasion 2 weeks before. My ex had a few common acquaintances, nothing out of the norm, but I was watching a movie with the family when I remembered I had forgotten my phone throughout the day. During the film, I was surfing on my iPad and moved hesitantly to the locate my iPhone option. We'd been married for 10 years and had a number of accounts linked together, one of which was iTunes. Instead of my phone being first, it was hers. Instead of being out of state, she was staying at a nearby hotel that also serves as a prominent brewery. They have weddings there all the time, and I was certain that's where I'd find her with her colleagues. I arrived to the hotel at 8 p.m. and couldn't find her anywhere. After 2 hours of searching, I restricted the GPS to a certain wing. I performed my best Eddie Murphy imitation since she wasn't in the eateries. That's what I call it when you trick your way into places you shouldn't be or acquire free items, since Eddie was a master at it in all of his early films. Gee, my sister was at that wedding earlier, and I'm concerned some man took advantage of her since she's intoxicated. Can you give me the room number? I asked at the front desk. They sent me to the room after a little pause and a request for a phone number. My pulse raced as I rounded a couple of bends, knowing what I was about to discover. I knocked on the door and attempted to channel Eddie once again. "Is there room service?" I said it in the best nice tone I could summon while concealing my indignation and anger. A guy said that I may have entered the incorrect room. My secret was immediately shattered. I believe I have the correct room. Why don't you open up and let us have a conversation? My adulterous husband begins messaging me, and when I discover this, the is up. She claims she wants to chat in the morning and refuses to leave the room. Okay, spend the rest of the night with your boyfriend. I stayed for nearly an hour just to see if they'd come out. The bathrooms at this location are in the halls, European style, but no one came out, so I gave up. I went and snapped photographs of her vehicle as evidence and then went home, distraught, to a restless night. She requested me to meet her at a large park where she knew there would be a lot of people. That's what she said. Okay, I've never touched you or raised my voice at you in 20 years, but domestic violence is a problem today. I arrived to the park a few minutes late, making her wait, and discover that my expectations are still wrong. Despite the fact that I had a cold shoulder the night before, I was eager to make this work, to mend it. I arrived with a forgiving heart, anticipating regret. Surely my wife of 10-11 years wouldn't betray our whole life. She's in tears, says she's sorry, and seems to be upset the whole time. When I told her how I found out, she sneered. We spoke about her going home, and I was both shocked and enthralled to hear her say, "I simply can't go back to the way things were, I'm so imprisoned there." 3. Okay, so she's the victim, right? She stayed at a downtown hotel for 3 days, probably to spend time with her boyfriend and determined whether or not to return home. The AP was in a relationship as well, and she had a 12-year-old kid, so maybe the burden was too much for her. She returned home. For a week, he was completely deafeningly deafened. She claims she'll work on it, but she just needs some space after all she's gone through. She's had enough of the AP. We do the proper thing and begin marriage therapy. First session. There are no additional information. I want openness, and I've been going crazy studying matters on the internet. She just asserts that she cannot return to the way things were, but she is unable to articulate why our lives were not joyful or satisfying enough. or what she means by her assertion. Fortunately for me, the therapist notices something and asks poignantly, "You've terminated the affair, right?" Awe and shock. No, she hadn't. Well, I was going to phone him and inform him, but I haven't done so yet. As I started the slow troll into the trickling truth, she revealed that she'd been with him for at least a year. It was entirely and completely unknown to me. She tricked me with presents while I was still joyful in the bedroom. She once gave me a watch with the words, "Love you more every second," inscribed on the bottom. When she was out of town on business/affair frolicking, she remembered to send me SMS and call. Eventually, I'm just a ball of tears, debating whether to go to prison, get out of this mess right now, or stay in the marriage I'm so dedicated to. I adore this lady with all of my heart. Session 2. Transparency is horrible. In fact, my wife has disabled location sharing on all devices and reset all of her passwords. Okay, how could I ask for such a thing when she's so broken and in mourning? The cheating ex requests an open relationship, which would solve everything. I'm shocked, desperate, and in a bad mental condition, and I must admit that I agree. I guess I subconsciously know it's over, but I'm not sure how to convince my physical self. The therapist approaches her and tells her she has to break up with the AP, no news on that yet, and that polyamory may not be good at this stage in our relationship. My ex swears he'll never go back to counseling since the woman was rude to her. Okay, I'm beginning to notice a trend here. Every night, I uncontrollably. This lady who loved me and shared the deepest intimacy suddenly doesn't want to be with me. We go about the home like ghosts of our previous selves. I spontaneously rage and scream at the world. It's the worst era of my life that I can recollect. I believe it's makeup, but after it's over, she claims she simply wanted to be away, and that we never really loved one another. Ouch. Oh, I thought we had a beautiful relationship that never lost its luster. We were intimate in the bedroom 2-4 times a week all the time. I make a move, maybe it's a mistake. I use Tinder and go on a few dates. I genuinely tell folks I'm married and planning to divorce. Before meeting with these folks, I was completely open and honest. One of them told me that if I had the divorce completed, she should contact me since I'm a lovely person. The other drove me to her house and tucked me into her bed. I wished I had waited since it would have given my ex more ammunition and a modest reason for the affair. We'll get to it in a minute. I'm nearly through with the crazy train. She goes on an obvious camping trip with her AP the same weekend and informs me about it in the spirit of openness. Meanwhile, nothing else I've asked for has been validated. It was because of this setting that I continued to feel useless and slept with the Tinder fling. By Monday, I'd had enough. Surprisingly, I'm still eager to work through it and fix the marriage that no longer exists. WS leaves for a business trip, and at this point I have no clue what's going on. There's no trust. You leave this guy, you commit to loving me, you repair this trust now, or I'm leaving before you come home, I say. She replied that she wasn't sure she could accomplish all. It's no longer a marriage. It's a mess that has to be cleaned up. While she is gone, I pack all of my possessions, take the dog, and relocate to a new apartment with some friends. She didn't believe I'd do it. She contacted me weeping that night, asking why I'd relocated my belongings. It's a whole excursion to crazy town. I advised her she needed to move quickly since she had been dealing with this for about 2 months and needed to make a choice. I couldn't live with her as part of this circumstance, and that time is coming to an end. I assured her that in 2 months or less, I'd be well entrenched in the divorce camp. That she'd done nothing to help me and had just made harsh remarks due to her selfishness and insatiable want to be acknowledged by males. She replied by saying it was my fault I found out about the affair. In her words, she wasn't searching for a way out, but would have continued to play the nice housewife character for the rest of our lives if I hadn't discovered it. What I heard on the phone disgusted me and almost drove me insane. What was the identity of this individual I believed I recognized? Who did I spend my life with? Who regarded me so little that I was a throwaway item or at most, there to satisfy her whims and desires? She took a step back and said, "This may be a wonderful thing. We'll mature into something new, go on dates, and be happy to see each other again. We'll get back together if it's meant to be." What the hell happened? Even in this condition, I understood that relationships take effort, and that love is a discipline, and I was receiving none of that from this awful shell of a human being. I attempted to meet with her about a week later, and she stated she wanted to talk about the divorce. It was basically just her seeking to flirt with me and then manage my attempts. She'd tell me how much she loved me, but if I attempted to touch her leg, she'd tell me she wasn't ready for that yet. Since I had moved out, she had also moved out and was paying double rent by having a wonderful downtown apartment only a few blocks from the pub we were at. When I offered to walk her home, she laughed, saying she'd be fine and that she wasn't ready for me to visit her new apartment. Okay, so I've been your husband for almost 11 years, we've been married for 20, and now I can't touch your leg or walk you home. That night, alone with the dog in my new leased room at my friend's house, I bit the pillow hard and wept harder than I had ever sobbed in my life. This time it wasn't about needs or desires, but I knew it was done, completely over. I knew the lady I loved had left. Maybe the rose-colored glasses had been removed, but I knew it would be in my best interests to never connect with this person again and to cut them out of my life. I was upset because I had honestly and completely given my love to this individual and had assumed that it had been returned all these years. Story tuned for next part.